Yabbity dabbity doo. How are we doing? Am I live? Let me go over to my PC. Is that me? Can I hear myself? How are we doing? Am I live? Yeah, that's me hearing myself. Hello! Hello and welcome, people of the future, because nobody will have turned up in the space of 20 seconds. I am a bit late, actually, aren't I? Oh dear. This is not good for a streaming person. No wonder nobody's shown up. 7 minutes late. I've probably had loads of people show up and go away again. This is not the behaviour of a professional content creator, is it now? What else? Yes, the other behaviour of a professional content creator is to not spend your whole time coughing all the way through your set review. Now, this afflicted me a little bit during the last review after a particularly vehement bout of shouting. There's good news and bad news about that. The good news is I think I've figured out what the problem is the fact that I've been eating so many Pringles recently. The bad news is I figured that out today, about an hour before I started doing this review, as I was just finishing eating an entire tube of Pringles. So, my throat might be a little bit scratchy again today, and if so, I apologise muchly for it. Shall we, well, I didn't open the app before, shall we go into Magic Puzzle Quest and have a look at some more Puzzle Masters 2 cards? Now, an interesting thing happened to me today while I was playing the Coalition event. What Coalition event? Of Machines and Freedom is the Coalition event this weekend. And I came up against somebody playing one of these new Painlands. I bet if I hadn't talked about coughing all the time, I wouldn't even be doing it now. That's got it. Oh, right. Yeah, so I came up against somebody playing one of these new Painlands, and it's made me have a little tiny bit of a reassessment, but I'm not sure. I'm definitely not sure. What happened is that I came up against a Bajami, and he was playing a Windswept Heath, which is one of the new PM2 Painlands. Here's a Wooded Foothills. It works in exactly the same way. This happens to be one that I actually own. Now, weirdly, this Bajami, who I was fighting, a Johnny Invigorate leadership for the uninitiated, he seemed to be only playing one single land in his deck, and it was one of these. Which is weird. Why would you do that? I don't fully understand what was going on there. However, it was generating more mana than I thought it would. It seemed to be paying for itself every turn. Yeah? Every turn it seemed to be fetching a land, which was this one, the only land in his deck. I was looking through his graveyard to check. And it seemed to be filling up with mana every turn. Now, if we do a little bit of maths, we can actually work out how much mana we might expect to get from this on average. Yeah? The card gains X mana. X is half the number of red and green gems on the board, rounded down. So, 49 gems on the board, 7 by 7. Yeah? 6 different types of gems, one of each of the 5 colours and loyalty. 49 divided by 6 is 8 point something, isn't it? So, and now we halve that because it's half the number of gems, and then we double it again because it's red and green. It's for 2 colours. So every time this adds mana to a land that it fetches, we're expecting it to add about 8 mana. That's more than I was expecting. For some reason, when it said, half the number, I'd scaled that down into my head to about 4 or 5. And really, we're expecting, on average, probably about 8. Oh, hello, Goz. Welcome in. I was expecting about 4 or 5 mana off these things. It was giving them about 8. And in fact, it seemed to be paying for all of them every turn for, you know, for whatever reason. There was just a cycle of these things going on. And it seemed quite threatening, but I'm not sure that it necessarily was. Do you know what I mean? It's all very well that, you know, every single turn this land was fetching another copy of himself, but was that actually moving Greg forwards at all? I'm not sure that it was. I was having trouble in that game and I was panicking, but that was largely because he had a load of other cards in play and one of them was a Chimil and I just couldn't get on top of it. So, yes, I'm not entirely convinced that just playing an endless string of these is a good idea. Something that does happen, of course, is that I couldn't blow it up. Well, I couldn't blow it up with the Demolish anyway, because when it lost the shield as a Demolish, it immediately went and fetched another copy of itself. So I was unable to get it off the board with a Demolish. This does not mean I was unable to get it off the board, though. I was certainly able to get it off the board with a Teferi. I've kind of forgotten whether I was able to get it off the board with a Void Rend. Because, of course, you know, Demolish works in different ways to certain gem destruction spells. You know, Demolish and Smash the Smithereens, if you remember that one. They used to destroy the gem that the support was on. So when you hit this with a Demolish, it will fetch another copy of itself. But I can't remember with Void Rend. That doesn't destroy the gem that it's on. So maybe you can use that to get rid of it without reducing the number of shields. But that kind of doesn't matter, actually, does it? Thinking about it, because it happens at the end of his turn. It doesn't matter if I trigger it. Yeah? So you've kind of got a land for life. Yeah, if you're playing one single one of these, yeah, at the end of every turn, it's kind of fetching a copy of itself. It is paying for most of it. 8 mana on average with a cost of 12. It's most of it. And it's slightly resistant to being blown up. It is dealing you 2 damage every turn. It is a mana field, so it might not be doing you any good. Now, the other thing I noticed about it is that it just kept doing it for ages and ages and ages, of course, because it was the only land in Greg's deck. It was only fetching copies of itself. And so the number of shields, he kept putting it into play, the number of shields it had just went up and up and up. And it kept fetching more copies of it. You see what I mean? It seemed quite oppressive. But it is still a land with some gem conversion tied to a mana field. So I really don't know. I mean, are you going to use this to fetch your demolition field? I mean, I don't think so. Are you going to use this to fetch your desert? I mean, maybe. Think about it. There's obviously sod all synergy between this and desert with its gem conversion, but it kind of doesn't matter with desert because desert is absolutely ludicrously broken, isn't it? So I don't know. I still don't like these lands. But it is possible I have underestimated them. I think these were the things that I was shouting at last time about how terrible they were, aren't they, as well? Maybe I owe Webcore a bit of an apology. Sorry, Webcore. I hope they don't hear that. But maybe just keep an eye on these things. I'm pretty sure they're not good. But they are at least better than I was thinking they were, maybe. Almost, I think. I don't know. Keep an eye on them. That's what I've got to say. Does anyone remember where I was the last time we were doing... Well, we were in alphabetical order, weren't we? Yeah. And we'd got up to... Null Drifter. I remember Null Drifter. Do I? No, I don't remember Null Drifter. Guide of Souls. Right, yes, I remember Guide of Souls. I remember Kozilek's Unsealing. Lion Umbra. That's where we were. I remember Localized Destruction peeking on the side of the screen. I recognised it because it is one of the few that I actually own. So let us crack on with, we can probably do the rest of it tonight, can't we? And get it all done. Localized destruction. Energize 3. Then if you control 6 or more improved gems, creatures you control gain shield counter 2. Destroy all opposing creatures. Did shield counter happen in paper? Shield counter sounds like the type of thing they might have ported over from paper. It's a bit weird, isn't it, the way it gives your creatures shield counter and then doesn't destroy all creatures. You'd think it would destroy all creatures just for a laugh. I mean, I know it's the same thing, but you'd think that they'd make it, you know, destroy your creatures as well, just so you can go, haha, but my creatures aren't dead, and rub it in Greg's stupid face. Do you think Webcore, do you think Webcore know that energized gems are not improved gems? I don't think they do. I think they probably think that those 3 energized gems are going to count towards the 6 improved gems that you need on the board. So that's not very good, is it? You're going to have to find some way of playing improved gems. Pajami, of course, he just spits them out, doesn't he? He's quite happy to put improved gems on the board, and he is white. So maybe this is quite a good Pajami card. Maybe this is a bit scary as a Pajami card, to be perfectly honest. It only destroys your opponent's creatures, and then your own Pajami creatures, they all get shield counter 2 for 13. That's pretty good, isn't it? I might be scared of that. That would certainly save all of Pajami's creatures from a push-pull, although it would not save them from a Deem Inferior. Poor guys, which I have been playing this weekend, and it's the business. So, yeah, I think that's where this card is going to be useful. You're going to need to very specifically play a Planeswalker who spits out improved gems. Yeah, it's written down there. Just read it off the card, Steve. It's written down there. And is white, you know, so it's no good playing Grist, who's quite good at spitting out improved gems. And it's no good playing Teferi Chronomancer, who's very good at spitting out improved gems. It has to be white, and it has to be really good at spitting out, which I think is basically Pajami. I think this is a card for Pajami. Maybe I'll finally level him up past level 1. Who knows? Maga of the Magic Strings. This very much looks like an uncard, doesn't it? I want to say unhinged or unglued, but it's probably whatever the third one is. Is it Unfinity? That rings a bell. Maybe it's Unfinity. When this creature enters the battlefield or is reinforced, it's a 17 mana 3/3. That's not great. Create a copy of a random card from your graveyard to your hand. That card gains full mana. Then that card gains flash and disable. Okay, I mean, that's weird, isn't it? But, I mean, they've never actually... We've never had this before. We've never had the devs, like, read what flash does and make a card that actually uses it properly. But if you play this during your turn, it will flash the card, put the card into your hand. Flash and disable means you will get to cast it on your opponent's turn. I've just found this playing with Deem Inferior, actually, which is a removal spell with flash this weekend, that because I find myself often drawing it with a time reversal. But it's not disabled if I do that. It's I don't get to use the flash. This does actually do that. You actually get to use the flash because it disables the card. One might say, though, that maybe it'd be a little better if it just cast the damn thing in the first place. Yeah? Like, it's all very well playing it on Greg's turn and flashing it in, but generally, in the vast majority of use cases, don't you just want to cast it on your turn anyway? That's Goz's card, apparently. Oh, did you? Yeah. I thought I'd seen this one before. Yes, that's right. This was Goz's preview. Well, one of Goz's preview cards. When this creature attacks, create 2 Ox tokens. They are 3/3. That's quite large. When this creature deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, reinforce all Ox creatures. So what have we got? We play a 17 mana 3/3. That's pretty small. We get a random card full of mana. Now, random's not great, is it? I suppose the more Timmy you are, the better that will be. That, for me, that's going to be pretty terrible because I like to keep my curve low. I like to play with nice cheap cards like Demolish and Endless Detour. It's going to be pretty bad for me. But if you're a bit of a Timmy and your entire deck is full of golden wishes and things, maybe you'll like that. But the randomness for me is a bit of a killer there. This is not a shteev card. That's the thing. And then we're playing a 3/3. And it's a 3/3. Now, next turn, it attacks. Creates a couple of 3/3s. So it hits for 3. Then it reinforces the 3/3s. So you've got 9 powers worth over there. It reinforces itself. So you hit for 3. The next turn, you hit for 15. Yeah, the turn after that, you hit for 15 plus 6, which is 21. I mean, okay, it's not escalating as fast as an Elspeth, is it? That's kind of my high watermark for creating tokens at the moment. Yeah. I still like Thopter Spy Network, but, you know, you can't deny that Elspeth spits out more tokens than Thopter Spy Network, can you? Goz says it's a Goz card, and I think he's right. I think it is a Goz card, not for other people to... Do you know what? I saw somebody playing Days Undoing the other day. I'm like, is that allowed? Are you allowed to play Days Undoing against me? I own that card. It is mine. Let us move on to Metastatic Evangel. When a creature enters the battlefield under your control, proliferate. This is a 15 mana 1/1, so it better be really good. When it enters the battlefield, proliferate, reinforce the creature. Right. So it's not even buffed then. It's not even pumping itself up. And even if it was, you'd only be getting +1/+1. When you proliferate, reinforce this creature. I mean, it's not getting that big, is it? Because I don't think reinforced creatures count as being buffed, do they? If you've got a 2/2, one of these, and the reason it's a 2/2 is because it's got a reinforcement, I don't think that counts as being buffed. Days Undoing or Time Reversal, says Goz. I feel a little less ownership of Time Reversal. Time Reversal is definitely a shteev card, but I feel a little less ownership of Time Reversal just because it's quite new. I've been playing Days Undoing since it cost 6 mana. Where was I? Yes, this little 1/1 guy who's not getting much bigger. When a creature you control is reinforced for the first time each turn. Right, so that's the thing. This is a tiny, tiny thing. Destroy an opposing support at random. This effect can affect a Vanguard support. Yeah, have you met my friend Demolition Field? Yeah? Maybe if you want to get rid of supports, maybe that's a better way of doing it. Just an idea. Mindless Conscription. When this support enters the board, create a zombie. That'll be a 2/2. Yes, it will. 16 mana 2/2. Okay. When you draw a card, that might happen a lot. Increase this card's level by 2. At the beginning of each player's combat, create X zombie tokens. X is this card's level. Oh, there it is. It's that sentence we hate to see. At the end of your opponent's turn, this card's level becomes 1. I mean, that would have been quite good, wouldn't it, if its level didn't become 1. But as it is, I mean, you know, high shit tier, maybe. It's pumping out as many... I mean, you are drawing 1 card a turn without even trying, aren't you? So it's pumping out as much power as a Thop to Spy network. So, I mean, I think you've got to at least call it a high shit tier. Yeah, they're just zombies. Mob. When this creature enters the battlefield, ignite a gem. That's not very exciting at all. 14 mana, 6/6 is not exciting. When you match one or more ignited gems, you may destroy this card. What a piece of shit! What a piece of shit card that is. At the beginning of your turn, seed a gem. Now, we looked at seed, didn't we? It doesn't gain life. I don't know why I thought it did. There's probably a reason. When you cast a creature with power 4 or greater, discover 4. Okay, well, it's all right. Yeah. It's better than drawing a card in it. Then, if that is a creature card, you gain X mana. X is the amount of seed gems on the board. I mean, I don't know. I don't play with seed. Do you all seed players? Do you end up with loads and loads of seed all over the board? I mean, I bet you haven't up until now, have you? Because it's always been broken in the past. Webcore have definitely claimed to have fixed the seed mechanic, so it doesn't hang the game. I mean, it seems a little bit loopy, doesn't it? Doesn't it? If you've got a certain amount of seed gems, yeah, you're discovering 4. Now, does that mean all the cards you don't fetch are put on the bottom of your library? Yeah. So you go and get a creature with power 4. You put half the mana into it, and then if you've got enough seed gems to put the other half of the mana in it, then it casts, and it. Who was saying they don't like combo players? It was Gideon. Gideon, you don't know what you're talking about. Where is all this combo stuff come from? They've given up on that whole this effect can only trigger 3 times a turn thing that Octagon cowardly put into the game in order to not have to bother balancing combo cards. You don't see Wizards of the Coast doing that, do you? No. They've got guts, they have. But this set's just full of loopy shenanigans, isn't it? It doesn't seem like it's going to go infinite necessarily that easy, but it does seem like it could generate an awful lot of value, and it certainly could go infinite. So, yeah, why not? Is it a must-have? No, because nothing is a must-have in this entire set, because if you try and buy cards until you get the specific one rare that you want, you'll have to spend thousands of pounds. Muster the Departed. At the beginning of your turn, create 3 white spirit tokens. Right, well, in this day and age, that's not enough, is it? Then, however, your spirit creature tokens gain Assemble. I'm going to have to read on this. And Life. Now, Lifelink's extremely relevant. So we've got a bit of... I mean, Elspeth does give her tokens lifelink, but that's a minus effect in order to give them lifelink. This is just, you're putting this out, you're immediately getting lifelink tokens. When you match a non-basic white gem by swapping for the first time during your turn, you may choose an opposing target. Your creatures with Assemble will attack that target only. When you choose a target other than your opponent's Planeswalker, loses Trample, First Strike, Double Strike until end of turn. Why does it lose Trample? If I decide I'm going to assemble, Avengers Assemble on your creature with my spirit tokens, yeah? So I'm attacking you. That's right, isn't it? During that turn's combat phase, yeah, I'm attacking you. My creatures with Assemble attack your creature, and your creature loses Trample for the duration of that turn in which you're not attacking anyway. Why? 5 excellent questions, if I do say so myself. So yeah, I mean, this is shades of what's that red thing? Urabrask's Forge, yeah, where you're putting things into play and they get Berserker. Isn't this a little better than Berserker? Because you can choose. I mean, I know those tokens have haste, swings and roundabouts, but you can choose to attack your opponent's creatures with these, or crucially, because Berserker is shite, you cannot. You may choose not to. So I shouldn't be getting excited about this just because it's quite small. I should not be getting excited about this card just because it has lifelink. But I quite like lifelink, you know. So what have we got? Morbid. At the end of your turn, populate. Well, that's pointless, isn't it? That's what that's doing is if you kill a creature, yeah, then the first token creature you control with the greatest base power, which is probably one of these white spirits, which is a 1/1. So it's not very exciting that you make it bigger. There are larger tokens, yes, okay. Khan's ultimate 12/12 token leaps to mind. What's your favourite big token, Goz? But I think we've basically got kind of nothing there. And then we're enlisting 3 gems. Lose a life, destroy. Creatures with enlist. Do we care? Do we care about that if we're not Pajami? Do we care about that if we are Pajami? I don't really know. It's alright. It's alright. It's alright. It seems a bit small though, doesn't it? Yeah, in this day and age, we're generating tokens with alarming alacrity with all kinds of cards. So 3 a turn, even if they do have lifelink. And yes, assemble, I suppose, is a relevant thing. They should use assemble more, shouldn't they? Certainly better than Berserker, isn't it? Berserker's terrible. So, it's alright. High shit tier? Yeah, definitely high shit tier. That can be high shit tier. Necro Dominance. Mana Field. You gain 2 loyalty for each corrupt gem on the board. Right. Let's hope we make some of those. At the beginning of your turn, draw 2 cards. Then corrupt 2 gems. At the end of your turn, discard a card. I'm not seeing any mana on this card. There's just the corrupt, yeah. Oops. I have put us in the background. There we go. So we're drawing 2 cards every turn. But if we had Kylox's Vault Strider, we could be drawing 2 cards a turn and filling an enormous expensive spell full of mana, couldn't we? We could be doing that. So, yes. Not interested. When this creature attacks, the creature gets +X/X permanently. X is the number of cards in your graveyard. Oh, hello! The end of your turn, destroy the top 3 cards of your library. Well, yes, that certainly can be very big, can't it? I mean, you can throw that in your Grist deck, who is very cheaply dumping cards in the graveyard and very cheaply reanimating some of them. Do I like it? I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to say, really. Unquestionably high shit tier. Almost certainly god shit tier. Maybe it's not even shit tier. Maybe it's better than that. I don't know. I mean, it hasn't got haste, has it? So it does kind of get shot. I mean, that's the whole reason why Aklazots languishes in god shit tier. Is because it costs 17 mana and does not have haste. And can get shot before he does anything. This is certainly a thing that can get shot before it does anything. And it doesn't do anything else apart from win the game. I mean, I'm not really excited about cards that don't do anything except win the game. I'm all about cards that generate value. Anything can be bolted onto a deck that I play and win the game eventually. But yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? Maybe even not shit tier. Wow, I mean that is high praise from me. Null Drifter. Have we had Null Drift? Muldrifter. We've had Muldrifter before. It had Evoke. I remember now. Yes, you could turn it into a catalogue. You could turn it into a draw spell anyway. It was a 2/2 flyer. This is a Null Drifter. This is a different thing. Oh, and it does something similar. When this creature enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards. When it attacks, create an Eldrazi spawn token. They've really gone all in on these Eldrazi spawn tokens, haven't they? And I wish they hadn't. They suck. Oops, click the wrong thing. Then process 2. Right, hang on a second. Then. So when it attacks, we've got no void gems. We're not creating void gems straight away. We're creating a single spawn token. That single spawn token is going to ingest 1. Oh, but it doesn't. It's not like we're sprogging them into play for any amount of time. Every spawn support, the Eldrazi spawn, is going to create 2 void gems and then vanish. Destroy a random opposing card. Yeah, there's better. There's better way. Are you going to play with this or are you going to play with Rakdos? Huh? You can think about that. Now, here is Ocelot Pride. We talked about this the other day, didn't we, in part 1 of the stream. Ocelot Pride does a thing. When you gain life, create 3 Ajani's Soldier tokens. And you may remember there are a number of effects in the game that say when you create tokens, then you gain life. So loopy, 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 loopy. Because apparently that's fine now. Apparently everything's combo in Magic Puzzle Quest now. There are no more other types of decks. It's all just combo. So that's one thing that this does. You can play it. You can play it with another card. There are a number of different cards that you can choose. But it is most definitely a 2-card combo that gains you as much life as you want and puts as many creatures into play as you want. Ajani Soldier, they have Assemble. Right, okie dokie. Hey, are you all playing with Assemble all the time? See, I've never played with Assemble. I haven't even bothered to level up my Pajami. He's just not my type of thing. I know I should. I play against him all the time. People love playing with Pajami. But if these tokens have Assemble, are you all doing that all the time? Are you players out there? Because Greg never does it to me. He only decides that his creatures are going to assemble and hit me in the face. Yeah? But are all you players out there, are you all like ganging up on your opponent's creatures all the time? That sounds like fun, doesn't it? Anyway, at the end of your turn, reinforce each token creature you control. Okay, well that's very unimportant, isn't it? The important thing is that this thing just goes off forever. And quite obviously needs a nerf. 2-card combos, not good for the game. When this creature enters the battlefield or attacks, this creature gets +3/+1, and a random basic evergreen doesn't have. Oh, look at that! It's a changeling. Oh, I like changelings. I mean, it doesn't mean anything. There's just something about them that I quite like. That's all. Basic evergreen that it doesn't have. And they are the basic evergreens. You can all read for yourselves on the screen. We know what they all are. Which, we've had cards that do this before. And one of the nodes in, is it TCT, the Colossal Tussle? Gives a card a basic evergreen that it hasn't got. And, well, yes, it is exactly what you'd think, isn't it? It's a crapshoot. Maybe you get double strike and go, hooray! And maybe you'll get defender and go, ooh. So I'm not really excited by that. It starts as a 1/5. It's going to attack as a 4/6 and then keep getting bigger. That's dull, isn't it? That's not big enough. Then, if its power is equal to its toughness, right. So it's a 1/5, and then it's a 4/6, And then it's... they haven't done the maths, have they? I wonder what this looks like in paper. I have to go and find out what this looks like in paper. Omo, Queen of Vesuva. Shall we do this on the screen so you all can see? Omo, Queen of Vesuva. Just have a quick look what this looks like in paper. Right, so it looks nothing like this. Is just something they've come up with themselves. It looks absolutely nothing. I'm not particularly interested in reading that. I just wanted to know if that power equaling toughness thing is something that they converted over from paper, because it's weird, isn't it? It's weird. You have to do something to make its power equal its toughness. I expect you all can have a bit of fun out there thinking about a thing that you can do. Yeah? 4/6. You can't even deal 1 point of damage to it. It's not like you can just hit it with a Ren and 6, is it? For a turn. It's a 4/6. So you need to do it 2 points of damage then. And then it's a... Oh! 7/7. I got there eventually. I always get there eventually. Is that right? Yeah. So it's a 1/5, and then it's a 4/6, and then it's a 7/7. Right. So it takes 2 turns, but it does happen. Thank goodness. I say thank goodness. Really, I would have enjoyed being annoyed about that. I'm annoyed that I can't get annoyed about that. Then this creature gains prevent damage. At the end of your turn, your creatures gain changeling. I mean, what, is prevent damage not a basic evergreen? No, apparently it's not. Okay. Do I like a 1/5? It takes 2 turns to become to turn into a 7/7 with prevent damage. No, I don't. I mean, high shit tier. There's a lot of high shit tier cards in here. I mean, I guess it stands to reason that this is a set without commons and uncommons. So it stands to reason there would be plenty of shit tier cards in it, you know? High shit tier cards. We shouldn't be seeing anything in low shit tier. I think we have seen a couple in low shit tier, haven't we? But not so much. So I suppose it stands to reason there's a lot of high shit tier. But I mean, I don't know. If they're going to give us loopy, how many combo engines have we seen? What, 4? Just 4 completely broken combo engines, and now we're supposed to get excited about a creature that gets a little bit bigger every turn. You know? I don't think so. Party Thrashers in the house tonight. At the beginning of your turn, discard the last 2 cards from your hand, even if they've got mana in it. We don't like it. Then ignite 2 gems. The beginning of combat on your turn, draw 2 cards. Right, well that's no good. We don't want them at the beginning of combat. Why is it drawing them at the beginning of combat? When you match 1 or more ignited gems, convert 5 gems to red. No, totally unreliable. You can play with it if you like. Have fun with it. But I'm not at all interested. I'm not even going to call that high shit tier. Because it isn't. When this support enters the board, ingest 6. At the beginning of your turn, process 1. Create 3 Eldrazi Scion tokens. Now, this looks a lot to me like... What's that skeleton one? There's a skeleton one, isn't it, that makes 3 skeletons every turn. And that's what we've got here, because these are old-fashioned Scions. It's nice to see that we're getting some old-fashioned Scions. It's a decent enough mechanic, isn't it, making Scions? We like defenders. We like gaining mana. Well, we don't like defenders, but we like defenders that give us a lot of mana when they die. We like mana. That's what we like, Steve. We don't really care about anything else. We like mana. So we like Scions. But this is not giving us an endless stream of defenders, is it? We've had a card in the past that I believe cost 14 and was green and also black. And gave us 3... 1/1 defenders every single turn, and this is not quite giving us 3 defenders every single turn. And I don't know why. I don't know why. I mean, the obvious thing to do to it is to make it ingest every single turn. That just might be a really miserable card to play with. Do you know what I mean? Just making the game as boring as possible. So yeah, I just get rid of all that horrible processing stuff. I mean, what would be wrong with that? If it just put 3 scions into play every turn, what would be wrong with that? You might play with that. Yeah, I mean, for God's sake, we used to play with From Beyond in the olden days, which only gave us 1. That was a long time ago. Yes, that's a very it's like a Jism Jim type card in paper. There are just some cards in the past that we did used to play with, but the game is much more powerful now. So yeah, it's the ingest that kind of kills that card, I think. Pearl Ear, Imperial Advisor. What have we got? We've got a small bit of lifelink. At the end of your turn, each enchantment card in your hand gains 2 mana for each enchantment you control. Well, you know who makes enchantments, don't you? And that's Pajami. He makes enchantments. He makes quite a lot of them, doesn't he? I mean, I'm not sure that this is the card you want to play with Pajami. I think you want to play Serra's Sanctum with Pajami. I think that's what you want to do. But he does make a lot of enchantments. Every enchantment card in your hand gains 2 mana for each enchantment you control. When a enchantment support enters the board under your control, draw a card. I mean, I don't know. To me, that doesn't look like you can loop that endlessly. Because unlike all of the other cards in the set, it doesn't actually generate mana inherently when it triggers that final clause. But I don't know, maybe you combo players out there have already thought, no, Steve, you're forgetting about blah, blah, and blah, blah. So maybe you'll enjoy playing with that as a combo piece. It seems seems fair as a combo piece. Just drawing a card every time you do a thing, just draw a card. I mean, that's Captain Ripley Vance, isn't it? Did you remember Captain Ripley Vance making a splash? Captain Ripley Vance did not make a splash, reader, I am afraid to say. Oh, we like the doggy. We like the doggy. I have seen the doggy. I'd quite like to get my hands on the doggy. This is probably the card that I want next. I have got myself an Echoes from Eternity. I've got myself a Demon Inferior. This is probably the card I have my eye on next. Is it a must-have? No, because nothing is. Because there's no possible way you can move yourself any faster in the direction of owning these things. Just wait for it to turn up. When this creature attacks, destroy an opposing card at random. I mean, that's pretty good, isn't it? Obviously, 2/2 is tiny and small. But it's not like it's got Defender or Berserker or anything silly like that, you know. So it's fragile, but it's destroying an opposing card every turn at random. And again, that's not amazing, is it? You know, if you're up against your Pajami, and it's always in Pajami, isn't it? Do you think maybe he's still too good? Maybe. But it's good. It is good, though. I mean, if all this was doing is destroying a random card, you'd play Rakdos. But there's more. At the end of your turn, that's a good time to trigger. Yeah? Start of the turn, bad time to trigger. At the end of your turn, good time to trigger. Return the last card from your opponent's graveyard to play under your control. Then this creature gets +2/+2. Oh, so I mean, there's more parallels to Rakdos, aren't there? Much like Rakdos, it's reinforcing itself every turn, in effect, even though it isn't literally doing that. But yes, destroying a card every single turn, and then fetching something from your opponent's graveyard for free and putting it into play every single turn. I mean, that's just boss, isn't it? That's absolutely nuts. I mean, I'm not entirely sure why it has flash. I mean, yes, okay. That does mean that, you know, if your opponent is attacking, don't forget with flash, your opponent actually has to have creatures attack you. He can't just have creatures in play because Flash is stupidly written. So yes, technically, if your opponent is attacking you, you can wait until his turn in order to put it into play so that he will not shoot it with, say, a Void Rend. So Flash is a tiny, weeny, tiny little bit relevant there. But mostly this has just got two amazingly awesome abilities which obviously feed into each other. If you blow something up, it goes in the graveyard, then there's something in the graveyard, then you can have it back. So this is clearly a really, really great card. And I'm going to enjoy playing with that, I think. It's a bit on the small side, but at least it gets bigger. At least it doesn't stay being a 2/2. It's not getting +6/+6 every turn. Then it's not staying as a 2/2 every turn. I would quite like that card, please. This is Flayed. I don't even know what's going on that picture. Maybe this picture will make no, that picture makes no sense as well. Flayed, Titan of Fire's Fury. When this creature enters the battlefield, if it didn't escape, English as a second language, we'll let them off, destroy it. So you really need to be putting it into the graveyard, and every time you play one of your graveyard gems, it gains 3 mana. And it's not really creating enough graveyard gems in order to get it into play. And we haven't seen a graveyard theme in this set, a graveyard gem theme, have we? So you're limited to playing it in Legacy. Yeah? When this creature enters the battlefield or attacks, deals 8 damage to any opposing target and gain 8 life. I mean, there's just... This would be a card. You can make this card if you just left off all the escape stuff, couldn't you? You know, 10 mana, 6/6, 8 damage, gain 8 life, all that. Just leave off all the escape stuff. And that would be a fine card, you know? That would be a solid, decent card. People would like it. I would still probably put it, even with all that power, still probably put it in high shit tier, just because it deals damage and doesn't directly kill things. But people would like it. People would like it a lot. I mean, if there's no creatures to kill, I suppose it's just works just like what's his name, Kamal, yeah. So it's effectively attacking for 14 damage every turn. So yeah, that could maybe even that can go all the way above high shit tier as well. Unfortunately, we're not talking about that card. We're talking about this card with the graveyard gems on it, and as such, it sucks. Phyrexian Ironworks. When a creature you control attacks, energize 1. Overload 2. They aren't good numbers, are they? They are bad. I would go as far as to say they are bad numbers. Overload 2, create a Phyrexian Golem token, 3/3. I mean, obviously not. No. Yeah, we know what token generators look like now. I don't know if there's anything in this set that's reliably energizing the entire board. Is there? I haven't really seen anything. You know, in the olden days, you know, we had things like Dynavolt Tower. We had things like the Ether Whale, whatever that thing was. It's not a very good card, that, but you know, it used to get played sometimes when you wanted to energize a lot of things. Why am I wasting my breath analysing whether this card is good when it obviously isn't? Polluted Delta is a land. Power Balance. When your opponent casts their first card each turn, draw a card. That's dull. Then, I think it's about to get interesting, the last card in your hand gains X mana. X is that card's base mana cost. So if you draw a Power Balance, if I've got a Power Balance in play and you draw a Power Balance, then I draw a card and I put 20 mana into it. Hooray! If you draw a Demolish, I draw a card and put 3 mana into it. Yeah, it's not as exciting then, is it? Yeah, I think that's going to be the killer, really, isn't it? Because you know, you can gain a variable amount of mana, yeah, depending on a random factor, or you can play with Villainous Wealth, yeah, or Kylox's Vault Strider, or something like that. So, yeah, while this has power, this card is going straight in the bin as soon as you get anything that's more reliable than it, and there are a bunch of cards more reliable than it. We shall move on. Primal Prayers. At the beginning of your turn, energize 3. 19 mana's a lot, though, isn't it? 19 mana's a lot. Overload 2. The last creature card in your hand gains half its mana. Then that card gains Leyline. Right, that's the thing that where you get a green match and it becomes big. We like that. So Energize 3 Overload 2. Those are certainly better numbers than Energize 1 Overload 2, aren't they? Certainly better numbers. Still not great, though, because Overload 2 is kind of hard to do. Overload 1 is orders of magnitude easier than Overload 2 to get. So it's not happening a lot, is it? The last creature card in your hand gains half its mana, then this card gains... We've got the same problem here we've got with Power Balance. Yeah, as we're paying 20 mana, and it's a bit of an unreliable way to gain lots of mana, and there are other cards that do it. Yeah, you could just be playing with your Into the Multiverse, and your Portal to Phyrexia, and your Villainous Wealth, and your Kylox's Vault Strider. We're not interested. Sorry, Proud Pack Rhino. When this creature enters the battlefield, creatures you control gain shield counter 2. I really don't care. Shield counter's just rubbish. Now, I was actually talking about this with somebody this week, and because there's too many ways to get rid of a creature in this game. We've always had this problem, dating back to when Hangerback Walker was first printed, and it cost 25 mana, because Hibernum assumed that we would want to pay that mana, and it was worth paying that mana, because when it died, it would give us 8 Thopters. But it never was, because we got rid of it with a Harbinger of the Tides. So it didn't generate those Thopters. And this is the problem we've got, you know, with shield counter, is that you can bounce things, you can exile things, you can turn things to the top of somebody's library. Deem Inferior, anyone? Is that a good card? I think that's a good card. So, you know, even though I'm giving all of my creatures double shield counter, I still don't really care. Yeah? I mean, when I'm building I don't know about you people. I know a lot of people out there, when they're putting a control element in their deck, they get Void Rend, they put it in the deck, they go, well, there you go, I've got a control element in my deck now. But when I am carefully crafting my control decks, because I am control, I always make sure I can kill things as many different ways as possible, you know? So I have, at the moment, my premier control deck that I play in coalition events. I have Void Rend. Oop! That gets affected by shield counter. I have Endless Detour. No, that doesn't get affected by shield counter, does it? I have Phasing of Zalfir. That doesn't get affected. And Deem Inferior now, actually, is new in. That doesn't get affected by shield counter. Do you see what I mean? I like to make sure I can kill things in a lot of different ways. So shield counter sucks. I'll tell you what shield counter should do. I notice this playing Titan of Industry, yeah? Is that sometimes it gets shield counter. They should put it as standard on large creatures that have Defender. That's where shield counter should be, yeah? When you shouldn't design a card with the assumption that giving something shield counter is a really great thing to do, because it isn't. It's rubbish. It doesn't protect things. But if you want to make a defensive creature, yeah, we've always had this problem with defensive creatures. Do you make them, you know, if you make them too small, like a 3/3 with Defender, a 6/6 with Defender, it's no good. And if you make them large enough to not die, then they're probably overcosted, like the Colossus, the 14 mana 12/12, you know, or the Walking Archive. So make them a decent size and give them a bunch of shield counter. There you go, free design advice from Steve. At the beginning of your turn, enlist 2 gems, then proliferate. Right, they don't know what to do with proliferate, do they? I mean, I suppose a shield counter creature counts as being buffed. Does that count as being buffed? You'd assume it does. But it's not very interesting, isn't it? To give you a creature +1/+1. Proliferate kind of does things in paper, you know, most importantly putting tokens on your planeswalkers that we don't have, you know. We have vanguards, yes, true enough, but a bit more relevant in paper, to be perfectly honest, than adding 1 to the shield of a vanguard. In conclusion, no. Psychic Frog. When this creature deals combat damage, draw a card. Okay. 7 mana, 1/2. It's a cheap way of drawing a card, but it's still too expensive. It doesn't look like we're getting mana, does it? When you discard a card from your hand, this creature gets +2/+2. Okay, well, at least it's getting bigger. When a card is exiled from your graveyard, this creature gets +1/+1. I mean, what this really needs is to be able to exile a card from your hand, doesn't it? And even then, it would need to be quite a big buff because, you know, it's not great exiling cards from your hand, you know. You often have superfluous cards. I do, anyway. I draw a lot of cards. Often have superfluous cards that I could exile from my hand. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about exiling cards from your graveyard. This is too small. It doesn't generate enough mana. We don't care. I think we are moving on. We discard a card from your hand. So, time reversal. It turns it into a 10 now. We still don't care. It's the no mana thing that makes us not care. Pick one of the first 4 creature or vanguard cards from your graveyard. Then fetch that card. It gains half its mana. Right. I mean, that's kind of not enough, isn't it? Deal X damage to each opposing creature. X is that card's base mana cost. So we do get to pick the card. So it's probably going to be quite good. We're playing somebody like Dakon. We've dumped a nice selection of cards into our graveyard. Maybe we even had some choice over exactly what cards we dumped into our graveyard. We're probably going to get a nice big one. We're probably going to deal about 20 damage, aren't we? Yeah, 15 to 20 damage. We're going to deal with this to each opposing creature. Does that make it good? And we get a creature or vanguard, and we get half its mana. I mean, if it gave it all its mana, we'd love it, wouldn't we? We'd never stop playing with it. It would be the most amazing thing in the world. And it would be a broken combo piece as well. So half its mana. I think it's probably not good enough. Again, you know, it's all very well dealing 20 damage to your opponent's creatures, you know, and that kills everything except the types of things that are going to kill you, except a stack of Galters, a massive stack of Tainted Adversary tokens, you know? So, yeah, you know, it's a fine card, but at the end of the day, Deem Inferior is a rare in this set, and it's going to get rid of your opponent's creatures in a much better way. And yes, you get that extra bit of value off this, but for me, the important thing is I want things dead. So it's a good card. I'm not going to be playing with it. Quest for the Necropolist. Landfall, corrupt 3 gems. Pick one of the first 4 cards. You all know what I'm going to say before I even get to the end, don't you? I'm so predictable. Pick one of the first 4 cards from your graveyard. Fetch that card. Does it gain any mana? It does not gain any mana. Let's just read Corrupt again, just to make sure it doesn't gain any mana. The first card with Buried gains Buried. And kind of got mana cost. Corrupted gem. It gives 3. Okay, so it is technically maybe giving a bit of mana to a card in the graveyard if you landfall. I'm not interested. It's not powerful enough, is it? Let's face it. It is gradually going to be letting you play some things from your graveyard, that card. But like, in order to get a lot of landfalls, you're going to have to be converting a lot of gems, you know, and maybe even just destroying gems with your Sunken Citadel and your Leyline. And if you're doing that, then I'm sure you've got a better engine than Quest for the Necropolis. I don't know. Have fun with that combo, players. Ral and the Implicit Maze. Deal 2 damage, 2 whole damage to each opposer. Looks like we might be getting our first really, really, really awful card in a while. But there are 2 more chapters, so we don't know. 2 damage, support losing 2 shield, just awful. Chapter 2, discard a card, then draw a card. That card gains X mana. X is the number of spell cards in your graveyard. I mean, it's not good enough, is it, for a Chapter 2? You don't really even want to be discarding with a Chapter 2. And just getting a card and putting some mana in it, no. What have we got here? Spell Gorger. When your opponent casts a card, this creature gets +1/+1. Yeah, that's not even high shit tier, is it? I mean, I think we can call it mid shit. Can we call it mid shit tier? Low mid shit tier. That's low mid shit tier, that is. Rampant Frogantua. Okie dokie. When this creature deals combat damage, and it might deal a bit because it has Leyline. There it is. It's having some Leyline. When this creature deals combat damage to your opponent's Planeswalker, destroy the top X cards of your library. Right. For each land card put into the graveyard, this way, seed a gem. X is this creature's power. Okay, so if we hit you without getting a green match, we deal 3 damage. We put 3 cards into the graveyard. So we might seed a gem. Yeah, I mean, here's a problem, isn't it? Is that it's seeding a gem and your opponent might get the chance to pop that seed gem and get some mana. Yeah? Why do I want to seed gems during combat? Because anyone can pop a seed gem. I mean, yes, it's large. If you do get a green gem, green match, then you're going to hit your opponent for about 10. It's a roughly a 10-10-ish for 14 mana. It puts it squarely in the high shit tier category. But not much better than that, I'm afraid. When a creature dies, blah, 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 blah. Reckless Pyro Surfer. When this creature attacks, ignite 2 gems. I'm not seeing anything with Ignite that ignites my enthusiasm. Do you see what I did there? Yeah, everything with Ignite has kind of been really dull so far. Landfall, your creatures get +3/+1. Nice try, Clive. Yeah, I see what you've done. Yeah. You're assuming the board's going to get shaken up and there's going to be some landfalls because we're igniting gems. All your creatures get +3/+1. It's permanent. It's nice, actually. There seems to be a distinct lack of until end of turn in this set. I'm not saying it's gone completely. Certainly that leveling zombie card, it came back with a vengeance on the end of that one, didn't it? But there's been a refreshing lack of until end of turns at the end of the card text on certain cards. But we don't care about that. Ripples of Undeath. I'm pretty sure there's a Star Wars character who looks like that. There is a star, and he's got 3 eyes, and he's called Rees, because he's got 3 eyes. At the end of your turn, destroy the first 7 cards of your opponent's library. Then draw a card. Okay. Mill 20 at the beginning of your turn, gain 10 loyalty. I mean, you can't help but compare that to Faithbound Judge, can you? And I know which one I prefer to play with. I mean, okay, if you like. It generates a bit of loyalty. It's just no. No, it's not exciting, is it? And the Johnnies can't even get excited about it because it triggers at end of turn, doesn't trigger when they do one of their stupid loopy things. Roisin, Roaring Prophet. Wasn't she the lead singer of Moloko? Wasn't that Roisin? I think it was. At the beginning of your turn, destroy the top X cards of your library. X is half the number of red and green gems on the board rounded down. Now, we know this because we worked this out, didn't we? for the lands. Half the number of red and greens on the boards is about 8, isn't it? Destroy the top 8 or so cards of your library. Then for each creature card destroyed this way, you gain 2 mana. Wow, that's a 20 mana 4/4 though. I mean, that's not great. For each creature card destroyed this way, you gain 2 mana. At the end of your turn, drain all mana from your hand. Then deal Y. This is a roller coaster, this card, isn't it? Then deal Y damage to each non-token creature and your opponent's planeswalker. Y is the amount of mana drained this way. I don't know. I mean, I don't like a 20 mana 4/4 that doesn't trigger. I mean, you know, even if it turned out to be great, a 20 mana 4/4 that triggers at the start of your turn is never going to be above Godshit tier, is it? But we're throwing a lot of cards into the graveyard. We're gaining a bit of mana. Maybe that's not even the important part, is how many creatures we throw in the graveyard for mana. Maybe the way we get mana is just to say, play a Galter. Yeah? Maybe that's how we get mana. We play a Galter, one of these comes into play, and then at the end of the turn, all of your mana drains away. All of it drains away. And you deal that much damage to each non-token creature and your opponent's planeswalker. Have fun, Timmy. Have fun with that card. I mean, yes, I'll have to watch out for it, but only in as much as I'll need to be playing with some removal spells, and I do play with those. So, you know, I'm not going to want to pass the turn having not shot one of those. But, I mean, that's me. I don't like passing any turn without having shot one of these. It's not as good as Desert, is it? That's what I've got to say about that. Salvation Colossus. Some people are going to enjoy that, and I wish them well. Salvation Colossus, what have we got here? We've got Bravery, we've got Vigilance, Flying and Trample. Okay, 24 mana 9/9 is a bit small. At the beginning of your turn, energize 3. When this creature attacks, your creatures get +2/+2 and prevent damage. Right. Oh, that's a comma, not a full stop. There was me thinking you were going to get prevent damage permanently, but you are not. I should put my reading glasses on, shouldn't I? Gain prevent damage, trample and berserker until end of turn. So they're killing stuff, but I mean we've seen this before. Odric used to give things berserker and prevent damage. Were we excited by that? No, we all went and played Emrakul instead, didn't we? This is exclusive content, apparently. Oh, they're all exclusive cards. For a moment, I thought the fact it said exclusive content at the top of the screen means it was for sale. But that's not how it works at all, is it? It's the alt art cards that are the things that are only for sale. This is just a card in the set. Let's carry on. Prevent damage, trample, and berserker. I mean, I just want to kill things for less than 24 mana. Yeah, deem inferior, push pull. Yeah, by not dealing damage to them. We don't care. Overload 1, I mean, Overload 1 with Energize 3, we're getting to good numbers now, aren't we? We had 1 and 2, then we had 3 and 2, now we've got 3 and 1. These are very good numbers. That's almost actual good numbers. Creatures you control get +2/+2 permanently. Then the last card with Buried in your graveyard that can gain mana, gains 3 mana. It's just a lot of stuff on there. That is nobody's favourite. This is the thing. This is somebody's favourite creature. Yeah? This is nobody's favourite creature. I don't see it. You know? I mean, maybe if you're into creature combat, if you want to kill things with creatures, isn't this just... That's pretty much creature combat. If you want to kill creatures with creatures, that does it. This is somebody's favourite card. This is not somebody's favourite card. This is rare. This is mythic. Okay. Sandstorm. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to sing it. Deal X damage to... I'm not. You can't make me. Deal X damage to each opposing creature. Now, in paper, Sandstorm is a common, I believe. And it is a bit weird that this is one of the... I believe this is one of the exclusive cards that you can only get if you pay money for it, isn't it? But this is very much a common card and deals 1 damage, I believe, to all attacking creatures. Is that right? Who knows? Deal X damage to each opposing creature and for each of its reinforcements. Then deal X damage to your opponent's planeswalker. X is the number of green gems on the board. Too expensive at 20, isn't it? Too expensive at 20. Yeah, it will kill a stack of things no matter how big it is. It will kill a stack of Tainted Adversary tokens and Elspeth tokens no matter how big it is. It might not kill a stack of Galters though. It's probably going to kill a stack of Salvation Colossuses. It might not kill a stack of Galters. And for 20 mana, I mean, go and play with something that does. Do we care that it has flash? Obviously not. It's a bad card, isn't it? Just a bad card. Scurry of Gremlins. When the support enters the board, create X Gremlins. X is equal to your loyalty. Right, that might be quite a lot then. That might be quite a lot. It's pretty easy, nice and easy generating loyalty these days. Although, if you do want to generate loyalty with your clue lands, you better have a plan ready for if you run up against Desert. If you want to generate loyalty with your Cryptex. And it's fine. I play clue lands and Cryptex all the time during the week when it doesn't matter if I lose a game. I play these cards all the time. And if I run into a Desert, I just go, oh dear, fuck my luck, I suppose. So, yeah, you can certainly play this with gem conversion cards and get a bunch of loyalty. Golden Wish, in fact, doesn't even trigger Desert. This is what I've discovered recently. And I do, in fact, now I'm playing a deck during the middle of the week that has Golden Wish and Desert in it. And it's a bit broken, to be perfectly honest. And if you throw in Kylox's Vault Strider, yeah? Throw in Faithman Judge, yeah? Try that. Try that little cluster of cards, people, and see what you think. See if you still think Desert is a fair card after you've played with all of those. The other 6 cards in your deck can be fucking anything, frankly. Anyway, X Gremlin tokens. That might be quite a lot. Then energize Y. Y is the number of creatures you control, including their reinforcements. Okie dokie. So I've got 10 loyalty. I'm going to gain 10 Gremlin tokens. Then I'm going to energize 10. That sounds good, doesn't it? And then the next time I cast it, yeah, maybe I've got 11 loyalty on the next turn, then I'm going to add my 11 to my 10, and then I'm going to energize 20. I mean, there are events where you need to energize, and this might be good in them. Who knows? There's a red node, isn't there, in emergency ordinances where you need to energize things? Is that right? Am I mistaken there? So, yeah, maybe you might play this in the... I mean, clearly, nobody really cares about energizing gems in legacy decks, but every so often you run into something like Fate is Really Fair and emergency ordinances, and you have to energize things. And, maybe this is an okay way of doing it. I generally, when I'm energizing, I'm generally doing it with... that little 2/2 double striker, you know what I mean? The really busted little... Do you remember when you could attack with creatures and kill people? That was a long time ago, wasn't it? But yeah, I mean, I don't mind this card. I don't mind this card as a way of generating energized gems and also doing some other stuff. Don't mind it. Shadow of the Second Sun. When you gain an extra swap, gain 5 loyalty. I mean, that seems a bit rubbish, doesn't it? Doesn't it seem a bit rubbish? Isn't that just a win more effect? I mean, obviously you can get extra swaps from cards. Isn't that still a win more effect? At the end of your turn, create a copy, we like this, of a random non-token card you control in your hand. Right. At the end of your turn, a random card in your hand you copy, and then a random card in your hand gains full mana. For 12 mana, I mean, that's pretty good. It might just be a bit too random. You see, we can't... Prior to now, we've been looking at cards like this, haven't we? Like Power Balance, or whatever it was called, and we've been going, obviously Villainous Wealth is a lot better than that. But you can't really necessarily say that with this, can you? Because 12 mana is a lot less than 20 mana. I don't really see the point of the extra swap thing. Maybe some people will like it. I don't like win more effects. I like my power to be spread evenly, you know? But I mean, it's okay. Is it going to see any play? I don't know. I doubt it. It's the randomness of it that kind of gets me. It'll be fine for playing midweek. Yeah, it's a decent enough card. It'll be fine for playing midweek. I can't see it making the cut of 10 cards in a coalition deck. Shilgengar, Sire of Famine. At the beginning of your turn, corrupt 2 gems. This is a 17 mana 6/6. Bit small. When this creature attacks, if there are 3 or more corrupted gems, well, he doesn't make 3 or more corrupted gems. Grist makes a bunch of corrupted. I played against Grist. In fact, I think it was my man Mainloop's deck. It was playing Grist. I played against it in training grounds. It's fairly terrifying playing against Grist, let me tell you, because it's difficult to get ahead. I like to build up a nice big advantage on the board and get ahead of Greg. And it's very difficult to do that when for 9 loyalty he can blow up 3 of your supports. Grist is, I think, is the real deal. I think Grist is going to be a really, really powerful thing. And Grist's first ability does generate corrupt gems. And it does reanimate things like 17 mana 6/6s. So let's see if there's something on the end of this card that's going to make you want to play it with Grist, or whether my whole point has just been that Grist is good, and regardless of whatever card is on the screen right now. Return the first creature from target graveyard to the battlefield under your control. Okay, we like that, don't we? That's a nice effect. If you can't, so if there's nothing there, presumably in either graveyard, create 3 black vampire knight tokens. Right, they're 1/1 lifelinkers. At the end of your turn, if this card is in your graveyard, return it in your hand. I mean, really, you don't kind of want this card to return to your hand, do you? Yeah? I mean, if you are playing Grist and you do drop this into the graveyard with your first ability, and it comes straight back out, you don't really mind. But, you know, if you're playing a reanimation deck, let's say you're playing with Behold the Beyond, yeah, very often you drop something in the graveyard and you're like, I'll get round to that later, and this guy just goes, nope, sorry, unless you reanimate me right now, I'm going to be a pain in the arse about it. And you don't want this 17 mana 6/6 in your hand. It's a nice effect. I don't think it's good enough for Grist. I don't think it is. High shit tier. High shit tier? I mean, you do need to do something. If you just throw this into a deck, yeah, you do actually need to, like, actually kill things in order for this to reanimate something. So, I don't know. I doubt it. I don't like it. It's rubbish. It's bad. It's terrible. It's awful. It's the worst card I've ever seen. It's all right. I don't mind. It's all right. It's quite a good ability, though. Yeah? It's pretty good. I like it. I'm going to play it all the time. It's brilliant. It's amazing. It's my favourite card. Delete as applicable. Signature Slam. Seed a gem, just the one. Creatures you control get +5/+5. Then deal X damage to each opposing creature. X is the number of seed gems on the board. What a piece of shit. 6! Where is Ren? Where is Ren? 6. When a land support enters the board, this is a 20 mana 2/4 with reach. Now, I bet Leyline Yeah, that's a problem, isn't it? Because you can match gems on your turn and make it a really big reach creature, but when it actually blocks, it's going to be a lot smaller, isn't it? Unless there's some text. Let's see. When a land support enters the board under your control, seed 2 gems. Then destroy the top 3 cards of your library. When you trigger Leyline, okay. Return, so that's matching 3 green gems. Well, matching 3 or more green gems, yeah. Return the first non-land creature from your graveyard to play under your... This is just rubbing salt in the wound, isn't it? You know? It's like they've just gone out and nerfed Blossoming Tortoise. And now they're going to make this do what Blossoming Tortoise does, only they're putting it on a 20 mana 2/4 with reach. Oh dear, how the mighty have fallen. First non-land creature, then reinforce it X times. X is the number of seed gems on the board. I mean, it is. There's nothing really, nothing written on this card that doesn't stop it being a 20 mana 2/4 with reach. So no matter what everything else does on the card, it's just going to drop dead, isn't it? You can't put numbers that rubbish on a card. Skittering Precursor. When this creature enters the battlefield, ingest 4. We don't care. When a creature you control dies, process 4. That's too high. Those are too high, those numbers. Create 3 Eldrazi Scion tokens. Yeah, we absolutely don't care about that. This is a bloody... Look at it. It's a mythic. That green thing we had before is better, isn't it? And that's still worse than loads of other cards. Sowing Mycospawn. When this creature enters the battlefield, process 3. Oh, process 3, right. So there already have to be void gems already. Fetch the first support card from your library with mana value 9 or less. That card gains full mana. Right, so the process 3 is a problem, isn't it? When an improved gem is destroyed, that void gems are not improved gems, are they? Does it tell you what improved gems are? No, of course it doesn't. Why would it tell you? Who needs to know that kind of information? We're only playing the game, after all. We're just the players. We don't need to know how it works. Spend your money. When an improved gem is destroyed, increase all your positive mana bonuses by 2 until end of turn. Anyone excited by that? I doubt it. I very much doubt it. Now, this one caused a bit of buzz when it first showed up, and may still cause a bit of buzz, because this looks very much like Insidious Will. Let's take a look. Oh, that was very YouTuber, wasn't it? Yeah, did you not think that was very YouTuber when I said that? I am on YouTube, after all, now that I've abandoned Twitch. Sorry, Twitch, you were rubbish. This support can't be reinforced. This support can't gain shields. Those both sound like bad things, don't they? And we'll see why they are bad things. When your opponent casts a card, destroy that card. That's quite powerful, isn't it? So already with Shades of Iwill now. So this is a counterspell. We've not really had a counterspell since Insidious Will. Actually, we have 2, and I actually can't remember what order they turned up. They turned up many, many years ago, about the same time. Insidious Will. Oh, I think Insidious Will came from Kaladesh, didn't it? And then Pact and Negation came out around the same time. I don't know. They might have even been in the same set, to be honest. But we've rarely had any actual counterspells, and now we're getting them again. So this is quite exciting. We like counterspells. Insidious Will is not a broken card. It's a pretty balanced card. And you can play around it. It does annoy combo deck players, but they can play around it. So they don't hate it as much as Test of Talents. So, Your opponent casts a card, destroy that card. They get a bird token, which is going to be a 1/1 flyer, isn't it? Yeah. At the end of your turn, this support loses 1 shield. Oh, it's only just occurred to me now that maybe that's tied to the second clause. It's always hard to tell, isn't it, with Webcore? They don't really care about being precise with the words they put on cards. So you put this 2 shield support into play, and it's possible that the way it works is that you put it into play and then you pass the turn and then it loses a shield. So it goes into your opponent's turn with 1 shield, and then your opponent makes a match, they match it away, it does nothing, you've wasted a card. If that's how it works, we don't like it. There's another possibility though, isn't it? That end of turn clause could be tied to the opponent casts a card clause. So you play this card, it's got 2 shields. You go into your opponent's turn, it's still got 2 shields, and it's not going to lose a shield until your opponent plays a card. If it works like that, it's really good, isn't it? Because you'll notice that, unlike Insidious Will, this is going to counter all of the cards your opponent tries to play on a turn, not just the first one. So it's a little bit better for 1 more mana. So I mean, maybe it does work like that. I doubt it. I kind of doubt it. I think, given how much Webcore so obviously just love combo at the moment, I feel like, yeah, you're going to play this, it's going to lose a shield, you're going to pass a turn, and then you're just going to hope that your opponent doesn't match it away and you haven't just wasted an entire card. Even if it does that, even if it does go down to 1 shield and they might match it away and they might not match it away, some people are going to quite like playing with it just because it's different. But not me. I'm not going to like it. Yeah, if it stays at 2 shields until your opponent casts a card, I mean, maybe it's too good. Who knows? I don't think so. I don't think it is. Because it's still basically an Insidious Will. It's not like your opponent is going to play, Attempt with Discovery, yeah, and then play a massive combo, and then this is going to counter all of those cards. That's not going to happen, is it? Because it's going to counter the Attempt with Discovery, isn't it? So, it's kind of unlikely to counter a bunch of spells, but it might counter more than 1. So, but I mean, the exciting thing about this for me is just the fact that counter spells are back, baby! And we expect to see some more in the future, please. Tamiyo meets the Story Circle. That doesn't sound like the name of a magic card, does it? That sounds like a Thursday Murder Club book. All opposing creatures get -12, -0 permanently. Don't really care. I could just kill them, couldn't I? You may discard the last card in your hand. You may then create X clue tokens. X is half that card's mana value rounded down. Okay. Don't really care about that. Return the last 2 cards from your graveyard to your hand. Those cards gain 4 mana. Don't make me say it. I'm going to say it. It's another one, isn't it? It's another 20 mana card that's putting full mana into some cards, and you've got to wait 2 turns with this one, doing fairly rubbish things. Clearly it's got some power, just not enough of the right kinds of power, making it pretty bad. I mean, I hesitate to even call it bad, but you know what I mean, don't you? It's like we were talking about something the other day, and I was saying it's very powerful, but all the power that it has is rubbish power. It's like that. Creation of Avacyn. Ooh, this is a historical event. Destroy all creature reinforcements. Right. Can we not just destroy all creatures, please? That would be nice if we could do that. You lose X life and gain X loyalty. X is the sum of the power of all creatures. Right. Create 4 Vigilant Angel tokens. They will no doubt be 4/4s. So we eventually get round to making a 16 lifelink. But why are we waiting 3 turns for this? They're really uninteresting, aren't they, these sagas? What sagas have we had in the past that we like? Yeah? I mean, the 2 that I can think of at the moment, straight away, are the Kami War and the Phasing of Zalfir. And that's because they do card things. They go, boom, chapter 1, do a card thing. 1-for-1 swap. Boom, chapter 2, do a card thing. 1-for-1 swap. Boom, chapter 3. All right, 6/6 creature. But, you know, it's a succession of card things. Destroying all creature reinforcements is not a card thing. It's a type of thing that you write on a card that also does a lot of other really great stuff. But you can kind of do that with a Vanguard, where you can ignore that thing. You know, you can have a rubbish clause on a Vanguard if the other 2 are good. You can have 2 rubbish clauses on a Vanguard if the other 1's good. I don't think I ever used the ultimate ability on Ren and 6, because it just doesn't do anything. I almost never use the first ability on Ren and 6. But it doesn't matter, because I can get at the second ability. You can't get at the ability that you want, which is the large lifelinker on this, for quite some time. It's got some time to get blown off the board by, for example, a demolition field. Have you seen anyone playing that? Because I have! So, yeah, sagas are going to have to be very different in this day and age. If Demolition Field is apparently the type of card that you get to play with now, sagas can't afford to do this kind of crap. You know, we still quite like the Kami War. I still really like the Phasing of Zalfir. You know, that's because, you know, they're really a succession of spells. You're not waiting for anything to build up. You're just going, boom, I've had a spell effect. Oh God, there's another one. 3 tokens! What are they? I bet they've at least got Death Touch. No, they have not got Death Touch. They are 3/1/1s. That's what we get. That's what you get for the thing. And then Demolition Field blows it up. And all of your other supports. And gains loads and loads of mana. And stays in play. But at least you've got 3/1/1s, eh? You can console you. Give them a hug, your 3/1/1s. They're your friends now. They're your only friends. The 3/1/1s that you have. Do you see? Do you see what the problem... Oh, fuck off. No! 3 more 1/1s? Are you joking me? Right, come on. This is going to be good. Destroy all creature to... What the fuck is happening? Those were my friends! I loved those 1/1s. They were good to me. They loved you in a way that you never could. Then, return the first creature card with base mana cost X or less from your graveyard. Now, we're starting to get to something, but it's no good, is it? Whatever it is, it's no good on Chapter 3, because Demolition Field, which is apparently a balanced card. Apparently. Return the first creature with base mana cost X or less from your graveyard straight to the battlefield, but it's got to cost X or less. If you can't, fetch the first creature card from your library. X is 10, plus the number of creatures destroyed this way, including their reinforcements. It's all very well saying, well, that's 16. It's not, is it? Because that means not only have you got to survive 3 turns with this particular support in play, when Demolition Field exists, you've also got to keep your creatures in play. And they're a bit small and rubbish, and there's all kinds of things that kill things. Destroy all creature tokens. I mean, don't we have wraths that put creatures into play? Don't we already have those? Doesn't Angel of the Ruins do that? I suppose this does cost 12 mana. But no, we cannot afford to wait. We cannot afford to... Pitiless... What's it called? I'm going to search for it. Pitiless something or other. Pitiless Carnage. There you go. Destroy all creatures. have a thing. It doesn't matter what it costs. You've only got to wait 1 turn for it. All right, you maybe got to wait 2 turns. But you know what I mean? It's like you can be doing other things while you're doing that. And most importantly, you don't have to wait at all. You can just go boom and do the important thing, and the important thing is killing the creatures. So, in conclusion, sagas are all shit. Where are we now? We are at the Necrobloom. Thank God it's not another fucking saga. Land 4 create 2 forest tokens. Well, that's definitely no good. This is a 2/7. A 12 mana 2/7. Forest tokens have haste. Then, if you control a creature with power 7 or greater, they get Leyline. Well, I'm not excited at all. Thief of Existence. This sounds good. This sounds like the type of thing that's going to steal your opponent's cards and give them to you for free. Doesn't it? When this creature enters the battlefield, exile the first opposing non-token creature. Yep, that sounds good. 12 mana 3/4. Little bit expensive, but, you know, exiling. Stuff you and your shield counters. Yeah? And non-targeted. Then, there's more. If that creature's power is 5 or less, ingest 5. Oh, well, that's uninteresting. When this creature dies, your opponent draws a card. Right, so that's a downside on it. So it's an expensive removal spell with a downside on it. If it's all the same to you, I think I'll play a well-costed removal spell without a downside on it. How about that? Time Vault. This is one of the exclusive cards, isn't it? You have to pay money for. At the beginning of your turn, if this support's shield value is even, gain an extra swap. Then your creatures gain double strike. So it's doing the classic paper magic thing of giving you another turn. That's what the Time Vault card does. And it's doing that by giving you another swap and letting your creatures have double strike. Okay, fair enough. I quite liked getting another turn the Emrakul way. That was the way that I liked getting another turn, yeah? Of disabling all your opponent's creatures and adding 13 to their mana cost. That was my favourite way of getting another turn. I prefer that. Some people might prefer the double strike. Otherwise, opposing creatures gain double strike till the beginning of your next turn. Oh dear. So somehow, in this random game of randomness, with a random board, you have to control whether the number of shields on this support is even or odd. It doesn't even trigger the turn you put it into play. You can't even play it on a turn and go, well, this turn it's got 6 because it just come into play and that means my creatures get double strike. No, because it doesn't trigger until next turn. I mean, it's bad, isn't it? Now, a quick note about Millennium Calendar. Millennium Calendar is a terrible, terrible card. You may remember, I'm going to go and find it and put it on the screen. You may remember in the review that I did for whatever the hell set it was in, I said it's a terrible, terrible card. And it is a terrible, terrible card. There it is. That's what it does. You can read it for yourself. The thing about this card is it is terrible, but I've seen people playing it. People obviously like this card. They like something about it. They like building with it. Probably quite young people. Probably people who aren't that competitive. But they like this bad card. And I would have to say that makes it a successful design. Yeah? You can't make every card great and playable in Standard. So if you can make a bad card that people want to play with, well done. You deserve a round of applause, actually. So if, back to the point, if Time Vault is a bad card that people end up playing with, but just because they like the flavour of it, then fair enough, I suppose. Time will tell whether it actually is. I mean, it seems a bit too unreliable, doesn't it? You know, I think the first time that Millennium Calendar doesn't turn against you, does it? But I think the first time that Time Vault goes, I'm going to give your opponent all of the turns and he's going to kill you. I think the first time that happens, that player who's playing for fun is going to stop playing with Time Vault. Yeah? And probably go back and play with Millennium Calendar. So I think the lesson we've learned here is that if you're going to make a bad card, don't put a massive downside on it. Titans Vanguard. This is a 22 mana 5/5. That's clearly too expensive. When this creature enters the battlefield or attacks, it does not have haste. Creatures you control get +X +X. X is this creature's power. I mean, okay, fair enough. Well, you can't really argue with that, can you? Obviously, I don't like it. The Timmies will like it. Goz, do you like this card? This seems like a Goz card, you know? Yeah, you play a Galter, 15/15. You play one of these, doubles up the Galter's power, double up its own power, and then on the next turn, it gives both of them +10/+10. I don't know, it seems a bit expensive. It seems like it's been costed at 22 just because Galter exists, doesn't it? This is the problem with having something like Galter in the game, you know? It warps the cost of things like this. Because, you know, you can't make them too good with Galter, so you've got to make them rubbish without Galter. Tune the narrative. Is Tammy okay then? Tammy got completed, didn't she? Is she okay now? Did she recover? Presumably everybody did. I mean, Jace, he recovered, didn't he? So maybe it's just like COVID. Tune the narrative. Draw a card. Right. Energize X. I'm not seeing anything good yet. X is half that card's mana value. Then gain Y mana. Right. So I'm drawing a card at random, just the one. I've got no choice. Let's say it's Attune the Narrative and costs 12 mana. I'm energizing 6. I gain 6 mana. Yeah? Is that right? I mean, that's just needlessly complicated, isn't it? It's because, right, I see. It's because there might already be a bunch of energized gems on the board already. I guess, I suppose so. I suppose maybe you're playing it with that Gremlin card and you play this and it's only that one card, isn't it? You're ripping the one card off the top of your deck. And, you know, even if that one card is gaining 20 mana, that's nice. If it's a really good card, it's gaining 20 mana. But if it's not the really good card that you wanted, yes, okay, there's Dakon, and you can stack the top of your deck a bit, but I fear probably not. I don't know. I mean, as I say, you do have to play with some bad cards in some events in order to energize. So maybe it'll even be good enough, you know? If you're having to play with blue, you never have to play with blue. If you've decided to play with blue in Firth and you need to energize some cards, then I don't know, maybe it's good enough. But only for times when you specifically have to energize cards. Ugin's Binding. Ingest 3, then return target opposing creature to their owner's hand. Right. Bit expensive for a bounce spell at 10, but, you know, we'll live with it. At the beginning of your turn, if this card is in your graveyard, drain 2 mana from the first card in your opponent's hand. Right. Now, we're all thinking the same thing, aren't we? If we dump a bunch of cards, let's say I dump 40 cards into my graveyard, then every turn I'm draining 8 mana from my opponent's hand. Is that a good deal? I'm inclined to say that it's not. Yeah? You've gone to a lot of trouble to dump 40 cards into your graveyard, haven't you? You can't just cast a single spell and dump 40 cards into your graveyard. Maybe there's a card that dumps like X copies of this specific card into your graveyard. I can't think of one if there is. There's like Traumatize, which puts 1 copy of every different card in your deck. Doesn't it? Isn't that what Traumatize does? I thought it was. Maybe just as 10 cards. So, yeah. I guess. I guess it's got some drain and it's got some bounce. It just seems a bit expensive for my liking. Ugin's Labyrinth. When this support enters the board, exile the last card in your hand. Right. This card gains the Prism emblem. When you match this support's gem by swap, gain 10 mana. Well, that's quite a lot, but that's like hard to do. Matching this specific support's gem by swap without a mana field. Hard to do, so we don't much care about that. When the support is destroyed, return the first card with a Prism Emblem from your exile to your hand. That card gains full mana, then disable it. Well, that's really bad, isn't it? Isn't that bad? Why is that so bad? There was a whole cycle of hidden cards. Nobody played with those. This looks a little less powerful than most of those, doesn't it? Yeah? There's a whole cycle of cards that nobody played with. So they made another one that's a bit worse. Okay. Ulamog the Defier. Well, this sounds exciting, but it's hard to get excited about a 25 mana 7/7. Ward, yeah, okay. We're still not excited. Let's see what's going on here. Ward 15 mana. Okay, so quite hard to kill. Except, the thing about Ward is you can still pop Nicol Bolas's first ability or Omnixilis' second ability and kill it before the ward has even triggered. So, why not just give it hexproof? When this creature enters... I mean, that's a very good question, to be perfectly honest, because ward exists for a very specific reason in paper. I don't know. Whatever, it can have ward. When this creature enters a battlefield or attacks, right, we like that. Enters a battlefield or attacks. Exile an opposing card with the greatest mana value. Then this creature gets +X, X is the number of cards in your opponent's exile. Right. This is an upgrade of Cityscape Leveler, isn't it? Doesn't that cost 25 mana? I'm pretty sure it costs 25 mana. It's an 8/8, but who cares? This is a bit harder to kill. Not that much harder to kill, but a bit harder to kill with its ward ability. Plus, you might be able to do silly things, with exiling. Obviously, if it's just going to exile that one card and get +1/+1, you're not too excited by that. But if you've been playing, say, Ashiok 1, and you're exiling a bunch of cards, the Johnnies will be way ahead of me now. Well, actually, Steve, there's this card that exiles 20 cards and this card that exiles 90 cards. And, I am sure there will be plenty of exiling cards to combo with this. And probably decent ones as well, Probably not rubbish ones that don't do anything apart from exile things. We had Jaliva, didn't we? We all like playing Jaliva for a while. I think she's kind of fallen off the map now that you can't fetch her up with Rocco and various reasons. Jaliva's fallen off the map, but we liked her for a while. She was exiling things. So, yeah. Honestly, this seems like a strict upgrade to me of Cityscape Leveler. I mean, yes, Cityscape Leveler does come out of the graveyard, and that does happen. It always surprises me when it happens, that it comes out of the graveyard. But, weirdly enough, it is a card with Buried that somehow, against all the odds, usually in a green deck with Galta in it, somehow you manage to cobble together its Buried cost, and it comes back. But it only comes back for a turn. So, yeah, obviously nothing wrong with Ulamog. I guess I look forward to getting it, do I? I guess I do. I suppose. Why aren't I excited? It's a Cityscape Leveler. I play with that, not in coalition events. Sorry. You could get this out with, like, Connect the Dots or Felden of the Third Path or whatever he's called. Yeah? Obviously good. Moving on. Unstable Amulet. We've got the good numbers again. Energize 3, Overload 1. Those are the good numbers. Now here are some bad numbers. Deal 3 damage to an opposing target. That's not a good number. Then draw a card. That card gains half its mana. Oh, it doesn't generate every turn Right. It's only when it enters the board. That's not very exciting, is it? It is only 7 mana. I mean, I don't know. Maybe. Obviously not. Yeah, so we've talked about, up until now, we've talked about a couple of cards with Energize on them. And, you know, you have to play them in Legacy, really. And there's a space for them in Legacy deck. I'm not sure there is a space for this one in Legacy deck, because this one doesn't energize enough. Yeah? The reason why you're playing an Energize card is because your broken Legacy deck needs a shit card just to energize gems. So you're not going to play with this thing that draws cards and gives them a bit of mana. Your Legacy deck's like, I can already do that. I can already draw 1 billion cards and give them infinite mana. I don't want that. Your job, you had one job, mate. And that was to make me a load of energized gems. And you couldn't even do that. So, no. Volatile Stormdrake. When this creature enters the battlefield, it's a 14 mana 3/2. Gain control of the last opposing creature. Then your opponent gains control of this card. Okay. So we're stealing for 14 mana. We're using up one of your opponent's slots with a 3/2 hexproof creature. I guess. It's alright. I'd rather just kill it for less than 14 mana, which is easy enough. But it's alright. At the beginning of the combat on your turn, energize 2. Then if there are 4 more energized gems on the board, return this card to its owner's hand. It gains 4 mana. Oh, to its owner's hand. Oh, interesting. So I'm playing this, I'm stealing your thing, whatever it is. I've stolen it, you get this, I've got your thing, I'm going to hit you with the thing. On your turn, you're going to attack me with this rather small and weedy 3/2, which is going to energize 2. And then on the next turn, it's going to energize 2 again, and it's going to go zop back into my hand. I've still got your thing. And then I can play this again, steal your next thing. And that hasn't even filled up all my creature slots. I could do it again, couldn't I? Yeah. I could do it again. For the third thing. I guess it's okay. I guess it's probably okay. I feel like I probably just want to kill something for less than 14 mana. But it is reusable. It's not going to count as energizing things, I bet. If you're... Oh, what's that going off in my pocket? That is... Bucket! Yes, I need to do the bucket thing. I explained it in the last stream. What was I saying? Yes, it's not going to count as you energizing things. If I give this to you, and if I've got an objective in Fate is Really Fair where I've got to energize things, and you own this when this energizes, I don't think that's going to count for me. So that's a bit of a shame. It's okay. It might be worth playing around with. Stealing things is fun, but, you know, just killing things is strictly better, I'm afraid. I'm afraid you'll all learn that eventually. But fun. There's nothing wrong with fun, you know. I've heard you people like to have fun occasionally. I don't hold with it myself, but I can see the appeal. Voltstorm Angel. When this creature enters the battlefield, energize 5. This creature gains lifelink. This creature gets double strike. All your creatures get +3/+3. That's not exciting enough, is it? And that's mostly all I've got to say about that, is it's not exciting enough. It's just not creating enough gems, energized gems, and the effects aren't exciting enough. So we're moving along. Warren Soul Trader. Is that his name? Warren Soul Trader? Dr. Warren Soul Trader. Hello, Warren. When a non-token creature you control dies or loses a reinforcement, create a gold token. Well, this sounds bad. When a non-token support you control loses a shield, a non-token creature, a non-token support. I'm not even going to spend any time on that. It's obviously terrible. Wheel of Fortune. This is another power card. Is this in the Power 9? Is Wheel of Fortune in the Power 9? I don't think it is it? What's in the Power 9? The Moxes, that's 5. Black Lotus. Ancestral Recall. Time Walk. Time Twister. No, I guess that's 8. Is Wheel of Fortune? I can't remember if it's in the Power 9 or not. Shall we have a look? I'm not doing this on my tablet screen. It'll be faster to do it on my PC, and I'll just tell you what's there on the screen. Is that okay with everybody? Yes, it's okay with us. We love you, Steve. We hang on your every word. What is in the Power 9? What was I forgetting? I was forgetting nothing! I said all of the things that were in the Power 9. I thought so. The thing that was stirring in my brain, even though it took me a while to remember what the cards were, was that there were only blue cards in the Power 9. That was the thing that was stirring them. However, Wheel of Fortune, in paper, deserves to be talked about in those terms. Let's see what it does here. Each player discards all cards that can be discarded from their hand and draws 6 cards. For each card discarded this way, deal 3 damage to each opposing creature. I guess. Or you could just play with push-pull. Yeah, okay, no, it's one-sided. Or you could just play with Deem Inferior then. We have one-sided board sweeps now, you know. And, while it's nice, maybe, to discard cards and draw back up to 6, it's equally nice for Greg to do it. Do you know what? He might do better off it than you do. He might not. You've built the deck, but he might. Don't like it. Wheel of Potential. Energize 4. Not enough. Discard all cards without mana from your hand, then draw that many cards. Those cards gain X mana. X is the number of energized gems on the board. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Again, maybe that goes in your Firth deck or your EO deck. I don't think it does. But maybe it does. I doubt it. I mean, I'm always looking for an excuse to play with Chandra. Is it Chandra Torture Defiance? I'm always looking for an excuse to play with. She's terrible. She's really, really awful. Building a mono red deck in Legacy with restrictions like having to play energized gems is just a thankless task when somebody can just Omni all over your ass. But, she does create energized gems. No. What are you even thinking, Steve? Wild Orchid Phantom. Is that fucking Richard? What's the guy's name? White Orchid. Who's the guy who used to draw this kind of artwork in the past? White Orchid Phantom. Just Google, just show me a nice big picture of the card, please. Zoltan Bor. Oh, no. Right. I was looking at the normal art one. Alt art. I can't remember the guy, hasn't got. Richard Kane Ferguson. That's the guy's name. I got stuck on Richard Dean Anderson. It is. He used to draw magic artwork back in the old days. They haven't let him draw anything since probably about Fallen Empires, I think. So it's nice to see him back. What does the card do? When this creature enters a battlefield or is reinforced, destroy up to 2 opposing land supports at random. It's a 2/2 for 10 mana. It's not very big, is it? It's not very good destroying land supports, is it? Because, while that might be good, oh, hooray, I've killed a desert or a demolition field, there's a very good chance your opponent just isn't playing with lands. Yeah? You come tooled up with this and you're like, try getting mana out of your lands now, Greg. Yeah, I'm tooled up with my White Orchid Phantom. And then Greg plays a Cryptex. You're like, well, shit, I'm fucked then, aren't I? When an opposing support is destroyed, reinforce each creature you control. Just not good enough. Absolutely not good enough. Too narrow. White of the Reliquary. I see what they did there. There's an old card called Knight of the Reliquary, and this is a white of the Reliquary. Zombie Knight. At the beginning of your turn, this creature gets +X+X. Okay. X is the number of creatures in your graveyard up to 4. Right. What's wrong with just the number of creatures in your graveyard? In fact, didn't that Necro thing from before, wasn't it all creatures in all graveyards? I might have just been making that up. I'm pretty sure it was called Nethergoyf. Oh no, it's okay. So it is just your graveyard. But this was all of the creatures in your graveyard. And then white of the Reliquary is just the... where are we? Just up to 4. Seems a bit unfair, doesn't it? I know it's rare. That doesn't mean you have to nerf it into the ground. When a non-token creature you control dies or loses a reinforcement, convert 2 gems to black. Yeah, rubbish. Rubbish, rubbish, rubbish. There's Windswept Heath. It's a land. We know about that. Winter Moon. Ooh, okay. This is going to be like a Winter Orb type card. When your opponent converts gems during their turn, ingest 1. Are you joking me? Have you seen what Desert does, mate? It's a bit better than this, isn't it? When you match this support's gem, what are you going to do with your resources? Are you going to go and find the elite pack that's got Desert in it? Yeah, and buy cards out of that with your jewels, getting specifically non-duplicates, or are you going to try and get a Winter Moon? Yeah, out of this pack with 100 cards in it. When your opponent converts gems during their turn, ingest 1. When you match his support's gem by swap, process 3. Decrease all coloured mana bonuses of your opponent's Planeswalker by 1 until the beginning. What a piece of shit! You have to process 3 in order to decrease their mana bonuses by 1. Again, have you seen Desert recently? Can I introduce you to my friend Desert? Wooded Foothills is another land. Wrath of the Skies. Is this actually going to be a Wrath? Sounds like it might be a Wrath. Deal X damage to each opposing creature. No, it's not a Wrath. It's some damage. X damage to each opposing creature. Then each support loses X shield. X is the number of energized gems on the board. I mean, I don't like it, obviously, because when I want a Wrath, I want it to actually Wrath. I'm not happy doing 5 damage to all creatures. I'm not even happy doing 20 damage to all creatures. I just want them to die. This does have the added side effect of losing 5 shields on supports. Now, that is better, isn't it? Doing 5 damage to creatures is shit. Taking 5 shields off support is much better, but for 19 mana, you could play with better, you know? I mean, just get over the fact. Just play with the Great Aurora and just get over the fact it's going to kill your own creatures. You can play around that. Put some Vanguards in your deck. Put Elspeth in your deck. Yeah, that's a bunch of creatures you'll get back very quickly. We don't like it. Sorry, Wrath of the Skies. Wumpus Aberrant. I do like a nice Wumpus. I'm a Wumpus fan. When your opponent converts gems during their turn, ingest 3. Really? This is what we're going with, are we? Yeah, we like this. Oh, and when this creature attacks, okay, this time, right? Process 3. This is the mechanic we like. Right? We're gonna reuse this mechanic, are we? Okay. Process 3. It gets +2/+2 and Berserker and Death Touch. I mean, fuck off. Absolutely, fuck off. I mean, look, I'm just thinking about what it does. What it does is, it's the Galta thing again, isn't it? You know? It's like, It makes all the shit conversion spells that you don't care about, like Animus Awakening. It probably stops them being. I don't even know if it does. What I'm thinking is that maybe if you convert like 8 gems to green, then before they even match, maybe this converts 3 of them back to void gems. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah? But, you know, we don't care about Animus Awakening anyway. The only one you care about is Galter, Tempt with Discovery. Yeah? The powerful ones, and it's not good enough against the powerful ones. It nerfs the shit cards, yeah, and it's rubbish against the powerful cards. That's not how you do things. Oh my word, is this the last card? It is, and it's a nice big 12 mana 6/6 lifelinker. Maybe when I get round to reading the text on this card, maybe I'll even like it and it'll leave me on a positive note. When this creature dies, your creatures get +2/+2 and death touch and lifelink. Well, that's a shame, isn't it? I mean, high shit tier, you know, just a lifelinker of a size. Low high shit tier. High shit tier. Low high shit tier. Mid high shit tier. Low high shit tier. You know? But, you know, Gristlebrand. Yeah? That's what we're comparing this to. We're comparing this to Gristlebrand. So, yes, that was Puzzle Masters 2. Thank you so much, everybody, for being in the stream. What do we think? Well, we certainly think they put too many combo cards in there, don't we? That's what we think. Too many cards that just go loopy, 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 loopy. There are too many of those, and don't get excited by them. Really don't, because they are nerfing things. I mean, they're showing us recently that they want to nerf combo. It's not like that this is a change in policy. I mean, we've just had the Longhorn Firebeast combo nerfed. Not so long ago, they nerfed Curse of Vitality. You know? We have, of course, had the big nerf of Galter and everything. The GTA nerf. So, I think it's all just slipped through. I really do. I think it's all just slipped through. I mean, maybe somebody new has designed this set. It's weird. It's weird that there are so many cards in this set that go, have some cards and also some mana and do it as much as you like. Because those cards are dangerous. I didn't necessarily see anything I desperately loved aside from the doggy. Like I said, I've got Deem Inferior, I've got the Echoes. I remember Abstruse Appropriation, but, you know, I'll take it or leave it. I'm not too excited, for reasons you can probably figure out. So I think it's just the doggy that I'm excited to get in the future. And then everything else will turn up when it turns up. But, yes, it does have the advantage, because there aren't any commons and uncommons, that as a set, it's not absolutely chock full of shit cards. Which makes a change. We don't want every set to be like this, of course, because we don't want to have to spend $10,000 in order to buy all of the cards in a set. You know? So... And we probably shouldn't have another Puzzle Masters, really. Standard's too big. Yeah? We've got Origins, we've got 3 years worth of sets, we've got Puzzle Masters 2. They can't keep making Puzzle Masters. Standard's just going to fall apart. You know? Block standard construction, mates. That's what you need to do. People don't like legacy block constructed so much. It's hard for players to build that. New players to build decks for that. Block standard construction. That's what you want to do. But yes, not so many shit cards. A few definite must-haves. Must-haves? Not must-haves. A few when they turn ups that you'll enjoy playing. Like I said, I'm incredibly lucky getting hold of my Echoes of Eternity Pick 1. And it is good. I am playing with it a lot. I'm playing fair with it though. I'm terrible. I'm not breaking it. I'm just blowing up people's supports. What the hell kind of player am I, honestly? But yes, thank you very much. Who knows when the next set is coming along? The next set is Bloomborough, isn't it? That's the next set, I believe. But who knows when that is, because, you know, they're starting to ramp up all the talk about it for paper. which presumably means it's not out in paper yet. So we're going to have to wait a month or so, maybe a month or so. And Duskmorn is the one I'm excited about, but I can't get into talking about that now. That's too far in the future. So yes, thank you very much everyone for being in, and I shall bid you all good night.